Dantas, why does it matter that people in NA don't care about streamers? Let's say you're dating a girl, right? And you only get to see her once a month. Every time you see her, you're literally gonna be on your best behavior because you want to impress her, right? You want her to still like you. You want her to pretty much be impressed with you every time, so that she can be like, oh, like this guy's a cool guy, right? Think of it the same, but except with streamers, right? Because if you see that same girl every single day, you're gonna stop caring. You're gonna be like, oh, you know what? I don't care if I don't care. I'll burp in front of them. I'll do this. I'll do that, right? And little things start happening that you don't let happen at the beginning, right? It's the same shit with people playing with streamers. Since NA has a lower population count, more people play with streamers every game. So then the whole kind of thing about playing with a streamer and having people care about your reputation is gone because now they see you all the time, right? So you're gonna have Tarzan saying that this guy's a fat, ugly, acne faced loser 20 times a day. So then when he gets in my team, he doesn't care about his reputation because Tarzan already ruined it for him, right? That's essentially the reason why. And since EU has a bigger population count, right? The reason why it's not as common in EU for streamers to actually just get targeted like that is because people actually want to impress the streamers. But a lot of streamers will sit there and they play victim, right? They won't be getting targeted instead, but they'll say, "Oh, I'm getting targeted instead." They say it just because I don't know, they're just weird. The other reason why NA is such a bad environment to play in is because NA is boosting culture. There are two types of cultures in high-elo. Boosting culture and then pro culture. NA and Korea are both regions who the high elo is dictated by boosting culture, boosting win trading culture, whereas EU is still dictated by pro culture. And now you might be saying, okay, what's the difference and what does it mean? Boosting culture essentially is where people want to get good at the game so that they can make money off the game by boosting and win trading. In EU, people want to get good at the game so that they can make money by going the pro route. But why is there a difference? I'll explain. Because of currency. NA is the US dollar, right? Even if you're Canadian, all transactions are done in the US dollar. So it's very easy to have a very centralized currency where you're saying okay, one win trade, 50 USD. One net win in high-low, 30 USD, right? It's easy to sit there and have prices because the entire region operates under pretty much one umbrella currency, right? In Korea, it's the same thing. Korea has one currency, right? I don't know what it's called, but it's one currency, which is why it's easy for boosting sites, for win trading sites, for Discord communities and all these things to set prices because they can, right? The reason why that does not happen in EU West is because if you have a guy from London, right, or a guy from, I don't know, Berlin, right, who wants to boost, the cost of living in one of those two cities is infinitely higher than in a country like, let's say, Serbia or fucking Poland, right? So because of this, a Polish win trader might sit there and say, I'll win trade a game for €5. Whereas the one from Berlin would say, I'll do it for 25 or 30 euros. So because EUS is such a big region and encompasses so many different currencies and so many different countries that have different economic states, right? Whether they're poorer countries or richer countries, it is impossible to set a globalized price on win trading and boosting. And that is the reason why you don't really see any win trading in high-low EU, right? What are you going to see? You're going to see bot accounts, eBay accounts. That's about it. You're going to see eBay accounts in Masters, but that's it, right? In EU, the only win trading that's done is very rarely done for money. It's just done among friends. Because of the other difference between EU and NA, right? So this ties back into boosting culture versus pro culture. So since NA and Korea are boosting culture regions, everyone has this kind of all for themselves mentality. Because they sit there and they're I want to make money playing the game, and the way I make money is by by fucking over other players, pretty much, right? Whereas in EU, the only way that they can make money is through going pro, right? So that's the reason why in EU, there's actually a much more how do I explain this? It's like in NA, people don't really have friends. I'm just gonna be honest. In the NA region in high-low, people don't really have friends. And the ones that do have friends, they're just scrimming 12 hours a day with their academy teams or whatever anyways, so you never see them in solo queue. So the only people you're ever gonna see in solo queue are the friendless people that are either win trading or boosting for money, and there's no reason for them to ever want to try. There's no reason for them to ever want to actually like try hard or like give their all in their games because they don't give a fuck about anyone on the team or anyone against them, right? Whereas in EU, since you need to have good connections to get into an amateur team and then also try to make your way into the academy and eventually LEC, right? And you also want to show off to perform for like other LEC or academy players so that they can have a good opinion of you. A lot of EU players will sit there and a lot of them will actually have friends within the high-low community, right? And because they have these friends within the high-low community, they actually take the game more seriously, right? But on the flip side, they're also willing to sit there and since they have more friends, they'll just win trade because it's a fun thing to do. Oh, I have an account that's Grandmaster 500 LP. You're one win from Challenger. Queue up, I'll win trade you, bro. No problem. They don't really do it, the win trading and all that shit for the money, right? They only really do it because it's an among friends thing. And I know, because when I would do it with Darkwing Jacks, the first time that I was in EU, I'd get fucking traded and inted all the time. And it wasn't because people were paying for me and Darkwing Jacks to get inted and win traded. It was because there were a bunch of Discord servers of people who just said, oh, it'd be really funny if we targeted these guys, and then we could just laugh as they lose their fucking minds, right? So that's the thing that you have to understand. Bro, US child doesn't have friends either. What do you mean? You're unaware. Because the thing that you have to understand is that for anybody to go pro, you need to have connections. Because the way you go pro is you get in an amateur team. And then if your amateur team does insanely well, right, when you do these like qualifiers, then you can get scouted by academy teams. If you get picked up by an academy team, then you can go LEC if you're good enough. So that's why EU West high-low players, their only real route is going pro since they don't make any money off like fucking boosting or shit like that. So a lot of them, they have to sit there and they have to actually try. On the flip side, what does this mean for EU? This means that you have a lot of people that are stuck masters and low GM who are insanely fucking depressed because they know that they're not good enough for Challenger or academy teams or LEC. So what do they do with their free time? They will target in streamers, a lot of them, because they realize like, oh, I'll never make it anyways, so at least if I can int this guy and have a little chuckle while he's like getting mad and tilting on stream, it's funny. You will see that a lot too. You will see that. So it's like there is target inting that goes on in high-low E West, but the majority of the time that's only like a master's phenomenon. A lot of the time in like higher elos, right? Like I would say Grandmaster Plus, every game people will always care about winning. Because as someone who played on that region, like literally thousands of games, right? And last season I played on it for a month, you know, it's like, I know that. What do I think Masters US in is equivalent to an NA? Look, I said this before, I'll say it again. I don't think that 50% of NA Challenger players would ever make it to Grandmaster EU. I've said this for 3 years now, and I'll say it again. 50% of NA Challenger players cannot make it to even Grandmaster EU. They would never make it out of Masters. Like, Grandmaster NA players who are like Hardstack GM, they would never make it out of like 200 LP. Right? I'm telling you, I'm being serious. But the NA players, right, who are insanely good, I'm talking about the 1k LP plus, they can make it to high-low EU. All of these streamers going to EU, I think there are only 5 or 6 who will actually make it to Challenger. All the others are going to be stuck. And then people are going to realize how bad NA really is as a region. Because like everyone knows how bad NA is, but there are still a lot of like copers who are like, no dude, NA's not really that bad. Yeah, you'll fucking see. When you play on EU, bro, and the shit that you see in like 1k LP lobbies in NA, you start seeing from 400 LP Masters, you'll fucking see just how shit this region is. That's why I remember last season when I went to EU and I peaked like 900 LP. But then this season when I'm playing on NA, I'm like hovering 1100, 1.2k. Do you really think a guy who peaks like bottom tier Challenger EU or NA like 700 to 800 LP would ever be able to make it that high EU? No way. And the only reason I didn't hit Challenger last time either was because of all the target bans that were happening. What about Tyler 1? Listen, I'll explain to you something about EU. I'll explain to you something right now. Listen to me and listen to me good. A thing that you have to understand about EU is that a lot of the time, EU is about two things. If you want to climb. Oh, I'm like all ending this. If you want to climb in EU chat, it's about having two things. One is good mental, and two is being a 1v9 player. You need to be the kind of player who you're going to press tab, you're 10-0, your entire team's 0-10, and then your fucking ADC is typing in all caps, Serbian top laner, and then your top laner is typing fucking, I don't know, like, our ADC is from Croatia, we can't win, or some shit like that, right? You need to be able to sit there, read that, and then still be able to have good enough mental to not only not tilt, but also 1v9 the game through skill and mental. So it's like Tyler in EU is going to be interesting because he needs to have first off a champion that he can 1v9 on, right? Who he can literally drop like 30 kills on and just completely demolish games. And on top of that, he also needs to have good mental because most games in EU, the first 20 minutes you will get cancer, but then your team will start bringing it back and then you can win post 20 minutes. But if you sink in the first 20, you lost, unironically. It's the same thing with Korea. That's one of the reasons why, did you guys notice how when everyone went to Korea, all the one tricks got challenger and all the fucking non-one tricks didn't? Did you guys notice that or no? Cat Evolved hit challenger, Scrub Noob hit challenger, the Baus hit challenger, right? And even imagine, a Gurren is a rank 1 US player, and I think he only hit like 800 or 900 LP. Like, he wasn't even close to rank 1. How insane is that? The only one who was like actually insane compared to everyone else was like TF Blade. Because he's non-OTP, and he got like rank 3 or some shit. But that's the reason why. It's like, you need to be a literal 1v9 demon on champs. That's why playing in EU or Korea, if you're one trick, you're automatically at an advantage, always. Automatically you have an advantage. That's the reason why I think when I go to EU or Korea, I'm going to easily hit challenger. Especially considering Tarbans don't really happen that much. Dantes, are you telling me that your server doesn't take a mental toll on you every game regardless of the result? Okay, but see, the problem with me is that I'm black-pilled about NA. If you're blue-pilled about NA, you can still climb. When you swallow the black pill, it's GG. What do I mean by that? Let me explain. In NA, if you're watching as a viewer, you think every game is winnable. You'll say, hey, no one's really performing that badly. But as a high-low player, you know who the win traders are, you know who the boosters are, and you know who couldn't care less and who's target inting you. So it's like there are a lot of games where they might not look lost as a viewer, but as a streamer, you know that they're fucking lost, right? And that's the thing that takes a mental toll on you after a while. When you're grinding in high challenger and you see the fucking 20-minute queues and it is so unbelievably cancer, the thing about NA, I'll tell you, this is the difference between NA and EU. EU West, you get tilted in the game. NA, you get tilted before the game even starts. Literally. That's the thing. You see the names in champ select, right? And you're like, okay, well, GG. Or you'll see the fucking, the fact that your top laner's name is, I don't know, like unironically, I've seen this, like, today in, like, Tarzan's stream. His, like, top laner's name was Zuhi Yan, and he hasn't, like, played ranked in, like, 8 days, just queued up on Tarzan's team and won 2-10, you know? So it's like, shit like that happens so consistently that you get tilted, and you know you're gonna lose before the game even starts. And that's why it's like NA, it's not about having a good mental to win games. NA is just about being able to like know which games are lost and not emotionally invest in those ones. But in EU, you actually have to have a good mental because every game is winnable for the most part, as long as you can keep calm. That's the difference. Also, I could easily go crazier. Don't tell me he doesn't die to red. He lives with 13 HP. That's fucking sick. Why is my fist rotating ball when we're on Herald, bro? Anyone know? You see I'm on Herald, fist rotates bot. This is the other thing about NA. Zero macro. Terrible macro. In EU, they will always rotate to the right play. Always. They never play for jungler in NA. They never play for jungler. And when they do, they insta-win games. Whereas in EU, you notice, like, everyone is roaming from like 5 minutes in and shit. It's fucking crazy. I'm telling you guys, listen. I've played on both regions for longer than doctors have gone to school for. I swear to God. And I'm telling you the things I've noticed. Like, trust me when I say this. I need to go clear this game. Shojin isn't good here. I goes for this. What was the most toxic region? Okay, dude, this is the problem with you though. Me and you have two different ideas of toxicity. So for me, right, if I'm playing on Europe and my mid laner tells me to, and he tells me that he's gonna in front of my brother and then, right, in game. As long as that guy tries to win, I don't give a fuck. But when I have to play in NA and I have a 20-minute queue time just for my top laner to end the game away because he was paid $40 to do so, that is the worst experience on the planet. There's a reason why the entire NA region has no hype around it anymore, right? Like, there's a reason why. And I'm telling you guys, I think next year, I will unironically spend more time in EU than I will NA. I think I might actually like move to Europe permanently. I'm not kidding. The solo queue experience there is just like a billion times better. As like a player, the solo queue experience is just so much better. Not to mention, you guys want to know the other thing too? I'll tell you guys the other thing that makes EUS better than NA. Type 1 if you guys want to know what it is. Who wants to know one of the biggest reasons why EU is actually a better region than NA? What if I told you? LOL pros. One of the reasons why EU is a better region than NA is because of LOL pros. Because in NA, what happens is a pro player is going to get Riot accounts, right? Well, I mean, okay, well, I'll tell you guys like one of the biggest issues. One of the biggest issues is the fact that 90% of NA League pros only go pro because they got rejected when they were younger. I'm not even kidding when I say that. 90% of the reason why NA pros go pro isn't because they want to get better at the game. It's because they want to show off for e-girls so that they can get e-girls in their DMs. I'm not even kidding when I say that. They were called ugly or fat when they were in like middle school, and ever since then they have like lasting scars that lasted a lifetime. So now the only thing they want to do is get pro, so they have the status of being a pro player. So that now fucking like Jenny from California is gonna message them and be like, "Hey, want to see my boobs?" I shit you not, right? And you can tell because in NA, the pros will actually like target ban one tricks, and not just that, but they'll also soft end games. They will soft end games perma. And they are never held accountable for it because we don't have any kind of like LOL pros, so nobody knows who half of them even are, right? But in EU, the thing is that you guys have LOL pros. So since you guys have LOL pros, right, it makes it so that pros can't just get away with soft ending just because they're mad. I'm not shitting you, and you guys want to know the reason why I knew that? Because there's this one NA pro player, right? I won't name his name, but I played versus him in preseason. And this motherfucker, this NA aspiring pro player, was target banning me in preseason. And I was sitting there and I was trying to think about it in my head, right? I was like, if this guy is seriously target banning me in preseason, then surely he doesn't care about actually like getting better at the game, right? If you're a pro player, your number one objective is to be the best player possible, correct? Right, yes, obviously. So why would you ever target ban a one trick, especially in preseason? Well, the reason why is because you only want to see your LP increase, right? But if you only want to see your LP increase, okay, and you don't actually care about your relative level of skill, right, obviously, because you're target banning to get that LP, then clearly there must be a underlying psychological reason as to why you'd be target banning, right? And I'll tell you guys the reason why is because that pro player thinks that if he posts on Twitter that he hit 1,000 LP challenger, that e-girls are going to hit him up. I swear to God, I'm not even cheating when I say that. That's the reason why pro players or people are going to like target ban in preseason or shit like that. It's because they're so insecure, I shit you not, that they're like, oh, you know what, I need to sit here and I need validation. So they want to get high-low so they feel validated when deep down in their hearts they know that they're dog shit. I'm not even trolling. Like I literally sat there for hours thinking about the reason. Like, I was like, what is the reason? And then it came to me in like a fever dream. I'm not even trolling.
That's why Faker doesn't ban champs. He actually cares about improving.
Yup. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. And it's a shame that more pro players don't have his mindset. Because, like, I'll tell you guys something, right? For me as a player, right? Does my LP matter? Yes. Because more people, if I'm a higher rank, will want to check out my stream. So my LP has a direct correlation to my success in my field. A pro player's LP, does that matter? No. There are some pro players that are hard suck masters. Because for them, the only thing that matters is how they perform in their games and in their scrims, correct? So why are there people who will sit there and care about their solo queue league ranking if you already made it to the pro scene? It doesn't make sense, does it? If you're like a streamer, right, or something like that, then it makes sense that you'd care about your like LP. But a pro player, there's no reason for it. Okay, what? I mean, I have Cleaver, so I just win this 1v1 now. Unless San is the most broken champ in the game. Is San the most broken champ in the game? Let's see. Wow. Keep in mind I have Cleaver. It's like, keep in mind I have Cleaver. Keep in mind I had Cleaver there. Holy shit. That's crazy. Can they not want to be good in pro play and also in LP? No. Because the reason why you want to improve as a player, right? If you want to get high LP, ask yourself the reason why do you want to get high LP. Is it just for the visual ranking? Or is it because you actually want to improve as a player? Right? Ask yourself that. And both of those are fine goals to have. If you just want to say that you're a diamond player, that's fine. And if you want to do it with a friend to get there, that's fine, right? But the thing that you have to understand is that the second you become a pro player, right, your primary objective should be becoming the best. That should always be your primary objective. Because if you're not the best, then other regions are going to embarrass you, correct? So how could a player sit there and how could a player care about their LP ranking if to get their LP ranking, they have to do things that make them a worse player or that reward them for being a worse player, like target banning or stream sniping? Does that make sense now? So it's like the second you decide to go pro, you know, it's like your goal should be to become the best. And if it's not to become the best, then you're doing it for ulterior motives. And what other ulterior motive could there be than if you just want to get like attention or like validation, right? So that's what I'm saying. It's all for like attention or validation usually. Nice, we won our first game of the day. It's lit. It's lit. Okay, I'll give you guys an analogy, and this is one I used in the past, and when I give you this analogy, you'll like it a lot. Imagine there's a guy, and every day he goes to his local gym, okay? And he is already inscribed in a bodybuilding competition where he's going to be competing versus other bodybuilders who are training in Europe, other bodybuilders who are training in Korea, and then they all meet up for the main event, right? Similar to like Mr. Olympia, for example, right? Now, imagine there is one person, right, who trains at his local gym, and instead of him giving all of his effort into becoming the strongest at his local gym, imagine he hides the machines and the attachments and the weightlifting equipment from the other people who go to the gym. So he sees that there's a guy who's almost as big as him. So he sits there and he's like, oh, that guy wants to do triceps today. And then he hides the fucking like tricep machine. Or like he sees that another guy's going in and that this guy's developing his chest. So he just hides the fucking bench press, right? Think about it like that. It's like you would sit there and you'd watch that and you'd say, what the fuck is wrong with you, dude? You're gonna have to compete versus people from Europe, Korea, and all these other regions no matter what. So why is sitting here and trying to make people in your local gym think you're better any kind of positive for you when you'll just end up getting wiped regardless? That is the exact reason why the NA League scene has never taken over in any kind of pro setting, because the pros are just paycheck collectors. And can you even blame them? I mean, listen, I'm going to be honest with you when I say this. When I think of NA, right, like league pros, I think of people like Bjergsen, Doublelift, people like that, right? Who the fuck even are half of these pros nowadays? Bro, I don't even fucking know. 90% of them are imports that come in for one split, and then after they're gone, it's like you replace them with a random academy dude who shits the bed, and then he's out, and now his entire life is just ruined. You know, it's like, the thing is nowadays, the NA League scene, right? There's no, like, reason for these pros to, I don't know, bro. It's just like, the entire scene is just fucked. Both from the pros ends, because they don't actually care about improving, and then from the orgs ends, because they don't care about actually developing a team. They only want to see they only want to import as many people as possible because they think for some reason that'll get them wins, right? It's just like so weird. Like, I don't know, the NA scene is just so fucking awful. Like in general. And what it comes down to, I'll tell you what it comes down to, is solo queue. It comes down to solo queue because I queue up every fucking day and I have 15-minute queues. And then my 15-minute queues, I'm getting target banned and win traded. So because Riot refuses to take high-low solo queues seriously in NA, because they refuse to manually ban people, because they refuse to like actually make it a better experience, right? Of course the pros aren't going to give a fuck about solo queue, and they'll only do it to like maintain a certain LP so that people will still think they're good, right? And they'll still get that validation, you know? Like, of course, because who the fuck would want to play any solo queue? Who? Bro, I've been playing NA solo queue 12 hours a day for years, and even bro, you want to know my favorite part of the day is, unironically, going to sleep. My favorite part of the day is going to sleep, because then when I wake up, I'm one day less away from going to Europe. That's my favorite part of the day. It's not working out, it's not eating, it's not fucking playing League, it's going to bed. Because at least when I go to bed tonight, 4 days until Europe. And then when I go to bed tomorrow night, 3 days until Europe. And then when I'm in Europe, oh my god, 3-minute queue times. Barely any target bans for at least the first week. Players who actually give a fuck about playing. Players who will actually be like excited to see me on their team and will want to perform. Right? Lack of win trading. Lack of target inting. Holy fuck, it's like, how could I not just want to go there? If you think I'm over-exaggerating, there is a reason why NA streamers don't stream long hours. Who are the two NA streamers who stream the longest hours? Me and Tyler. And even Tyler, for the last like year, can barely even get 10-hour streams in because of how bad it is. You know, when I was playing in Europe, let me tell you guys something. Every time I go to Europe, I do this thing where I always play from a facility, right? So like when I go to Europe this year, I'm going to play from a facility. Not from like my room in an Airbnb, no, from a facility. And you guys want to know something crazy? Last year when I went to, like in November when I'd gone to Europe, the center would only be open from like, let's say 10 a.m. until like 6 p.m., right? And it would make me so excited to go to bed, to wake up in the morning so I could have a banger stream. And then while I was streaming, it would make me excited to give like all my energy into my streams because I knew I was running on a clock, you know? And I didn't have like the entire day to stream. I only had a certain amount of hours. So it's like I have to cram in that amount of content in those hours. Does that make sense? Bro, playing on Europe, it genuinely makes you excited. You know, like, you see these names of people who are well-respected, good players. Like, when you think about NA, guys, be honest with you. Who's a good NA player? Who's someone who, if you saw him on my team, you'd be like, oh, let's fucking go! You got that guy on your team! Who? Like, who is one guy where you would sit there and be like, oh my god, that guy? Like, not a streamer, by the way. I'm not talking about streamers. I'm talking about, like, just normal players. When I was in the EU, every game, people would be like, oh shit, you got that pro player. You're against this guy, that guy. Oh fuck. Like, I'm curious to see how you do versus that guy, this guy, right? And it's like, there's always something where it's like, people are well respected. But in NA, it's like, half the people, you don't even know who the fuck they are because they're playing on Riot accounts with random IGNs, so nobody knows who the fuck they are. And then at the same time, you never even know who the NA high-low players are anyways, because nowadays every pro team is just importing random Koreans. So it's like in solo queue, it's just Koreans with these like random IGNs, so nobody knows who the fuck they are. And it's like, there's no hype around any player, there's no hype around anyone in solo queue, there's no one who you would sit there and be like, oh yeah, that guy, like, I'm glad to see you play against him, because there's no hype around the region. The thing about me is, like, as a League streamer, right, one of the things I love the most is, like, getting hype, right? Like, bringing hype, doing a fucking goal, a journey, right? Things like that. And when you're playing on a region that has no hype, it's like trying to make a cake, but instead of being given flour, you're given shit. That's how NA League streamers are treated by Riot. How insane is it that there isn't a system in place where you can just get rid of all these people? And there used to be. That's the worst part. But you know who fucking ruined it? You know who ruined everything? I'll show you who fucking ruined everything. This fucking bastard. This guy. This guy ruined NA. This man, Twitch chat, you would never believe me, but he ruined NA. Years ago, this man is who ruined it. And I'll tell you how. Because this motherfucker was queuing up every game, targeting streamers for attention. His name was Nubrak. He'd lock in Teemo support. He would sit mid, troll. Go top, troll. And then when Nightblue manually ticketed his account to Riot and said ban him, Riot was like, we got you, he's trolling. He makes a Reddit thread, pretends to be the victim, and all the Silver 4 Redditors were like, bad guy Riot, bad guy Nightblue, punishing a guy who just plays off meta. And then because of that, right, Riot said, fuck it, we're not gonna allow streamers to ticket people anymore. Right? They said, oh, you know what? We're not going to allow people to ticket people anymore because we're just going to get backlash for it anyways. And that was when NA fell. The Nightblue versus Nubrak is what killed NA. I shit you not. Because if nowadays we could actually like ticket people who are inting, and if we could actually get rid of them from solo queue, give me Tarzan Tyler one day where we can tell Riot, yo, ban this guy's trolling. Yo, ban this guy's a win trader. Give me Tyler Tarzan one day, and we would cleanse 30% of high-low instantly in one day. It's not even Nubrak, it's Reddit's fault. I mean, it's both of their fucking faults. So, Dantes, do you think there is any saving then after the same thing you said just has been said for years with no improvement? And NA, no. You guys want to know what the most hype NA has seen in years was? The most hype NA has seen in years. There were 2 hype moments in NA, I'll tell you. In the last, I'd say 5 years of League, if not even more, I think there were only 2 hype moments for the entirety of League. One was when Tyler was rank 3 going for rank 1 years ago, and then 2 was the Dantes Challenger Race NA. Type 1 if you agree. Off the top of my head, if you had to tell me what in NA was like the most insane hype thing, those are the only 2 things I can think. Like, if it wasn't for my Challenger Race I organized beginning of season, right? I can honestly say that I don't think anything in NA has been hype or anything in NA has drawn any kind of attention to NA in years. Legitimately. Like, I genuinely can't think of anything. I really can't. There's just like nothing to be done. Because the problem is, Doublelift coming back with Bjergsen. Okay, but dude, like, this is the thing you have to understand, Evan. When you say something like Doublelift coming back with Bjergsen, right? Cool. That's a cool hype thing for the pro scene. I'm talking about something that draws attention to high-low NA solo queue. Because you guys want to know what would have been hype? If when the pros came to NA last year, we managed to go against them in solo queue. But you guys know what Riot did? They said, here's Champions queue. And then they made it so that we couldn't play against any pros. Anytime the ball has been in Riot's court, for them to sit there and for them to like actually do something that was cool, they didn't. I think that there are cool events that happen, right? When Tyler did his like TCS and shit like that, I agree. But what I'm referencing is just more so like cool things in solo queue that happen. But nowadays you don't see it. Hums Tarzan bet? See, the Hums Tarzan bet could have been hype, but then the problem is, after 2 weeks, they both started streaming with like 3 to 7 minute delay, no mic, no cam. If they actually kept mic and cam and they were hyping it up, it actually could have been like a real event though. But yeah, I mean, after the first like 2 weeks though, it was kind of just like, Tyler hitting Challenger in all 5 roles was kind of nuts too. I agree. Listen, I agree. I think that Tyler's challenges were pretty hype for NA. It's just kind of crazy to think that unless one single individual does something, there's like zero hype around a region, right? And everyone's just miserable. Because it's not even the fact that in NA there's a lack of hype, it's the fact that in NA every streamer is miserable. Like, did you guys notice that, yes or no? And I mean, sure, you can say that some EU streamers are miserable too, but I feel like for the most part, it's way more common in NA than it is in EU. Alright, y'all, have I told you that now we need to win the game? Because we need to get 1k LP today.